Hello friends. A change to council tax has quietly gone through in the UK and most pensioners have no idea it applies to them. Local authorities are sitting on unclaimed refunds and discounts right now, some going back years, and the money stays with the council unless you specifically ask for it. Today, I am walking through exactly who qualifies, what's changed, and the precise words to use when you call your local authority to get this checked. Before we get into it, subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell. Councils are not required to tell you when you're overpaying. Subscribe now and let's get into what's actually changed. Single-person households are the biggest group missing out, and the number affected is larger than most people expect. If you live alone, you're entitled to a 25% discount on your council tax bill. This has existed for years, but a recent tightening of council data matching means many long-term single occupiers who never applied are now being flagged automatically and in some areas backdated. Roughly 40% of eligible single-person discounts go unclaimed at any given time, according to figures repeatedly cited by local government watchdogs. That means a huge number of pensioners living alone since a spouse passed away or since children moved out are paying full rate for no reason. Check your most recent bill. If it does not show a 25% single-person discount and you have lived alone for any period, call your local council's council tax department and ask them to apply the discount, then ask specifically whether it can be backdated to the date you began living alone. Severe mental impairment is the exemption almost nobody applies for because the name makes people assume it doesn't apply to them. This exemption covers conditions like dementia, Alzheimer's, and the aftermath of a serious stroke, and it is far broader than the name suggests. If a doctor confirms a permanent condition affecting a person's ability to understand or communicate, and that person also receives a qualifying benefit like attendance allowance or the middle or higher rate of disability living allowance, that person can be entirely disregarded for council tax purposes. A household is not simply discounted here. If the disregarded person lives with one other adult, the household still gets the 25% single-person rate. If everyone in the property qualifies for disregard, the bill can be reduced to zero. Two documents unlock this exemption. You need written confirmation from a GP of the diagnosis and proof of the qualifying benefit. Ask your council for their severe mental impairment exemption form specifically, since some councils bury this under generic disability reduction pages that don't mention it by name. Here's the change that's actually new for 2026, and it's the one triggering fresh refunds right now. The government has updated statutory guidance requiring councils to proactively review council tax reduction claims for pensioners whose circumstances may have changed but who never reapplied. Previously, the burden sat entirely on the claimant to notify the council of a change. Under the revised guidance, councils are expected to cross-reference DWP data more actively, particularly around pension credit uptake. Anyone receiving pension credit, whether guarantee credit or savings credit, may be entitled to a full or partial council tax reduction, but the two systems have never been perfectly linked. Thousands of pensioners who started receiving pension credit did not realize a separate council tax application was required. Bring both letters to this call. If you receive pension credit, ring your council and ask them to check your council tax reduction entitlement against your current pension credit award, and specifically ask whether the reduction can be backdated to when your pension credit started. Empty and unoccupied properties create a fourth category, and it catches pensioners who've moved into care. A property becomes eligible for exemptions or discounts once it's unoccupied, and the rules shift depending on why. If a pensioner has moved permanently into a care home or hospital and their previous home now sits empty, that property can qualify for a full council tax exemption, sometimes indefinitely, as long as it remains their main reason for being away. Families often miss this entirely during a stressful transition. The council does not automatically know that a move into care has happened and continues billing the empty property at the full rate, sometimes for months, until someone tells them otherwise. Contact the council directly if this applies to a parent, relative, or yourself, and explain that the property is unoccupied because the resident has moved into a care home or hospital on a permanent basis. Ask for the exemption to be applied and backdated to the move date, and request written confirmation once it's processed. The fifth situation is the one with a real deadline attached, so it's worth checking before you finish watching this. If you believe you've been in the wrong council tax band for years, and this happens more often than people assume, especially in properties that were banded quickly during the original 1991 valuation, you can request a formal band review through the Valuation Office agency. A successful challenge can lower your band permanently and trigger a refund for the difference going back to when you moved in some cases. Caution matters here. A review can occasionally increase a band instead of lowering it, so check what similar neighbouring properties are banded before requesting a formal review, using the free online band checker first. The phrase that gets you a proper answer, whichever of these 5 applies to you. Can you review my account for any discounts, exemptions, or reductions I may be entitled to, including backdating? Councils are not required to volunteer this information. Asking the direct question is what moves the request from a general inquiry to a formal review. So here is the complete picture of what changed and what to check. Living alone entitles you to a 25% discount, and if your bill doesn't show it, a call can get it applied and potentially backdated. Severe mental impairment can reduce or eliminate a bill entirely for households affected by dementia, stroke, or similar conditions, provided a qualifying benefit is also in payment. Pension credit recipients should specifically check their council tax reduction entitlement, since the two systems don't update each other automatically, and this is the change driving new refunds in 2026. Properties left empty because someone has moved into permanent care can qualify for a full exemption, backdated to the move. And if your banding has ever looked wrong, a free check against similar properties before requesting a formal review could lower your bill for good. None of these checks cost anything, and every one of them starts with a single phone call. Share this with someone who's never had their council tax reviewed. It could be worth more than one payment's worth of savings. I will see you in the next one.